So, Shannon Scott, you grew up in Mertzen.
I did.
How do you think growing up in a small town helped to shape the person that you are today?
Well, it was definitely an experience. Very convenient that I was close to family, friends, just a really great community in Mertzen. And I think just the relationships that I built there kind of helped shape me as an adult and where I stand, just continuing those relationships with folks nowadays. So just a really good experience.
So having grown up in a small town like that, does San Angelo feel a little bit like the big city?
It doesn't, just because San Angelo was still kind of like a hometown to me as well. And then going off and moving to Lubbock and Amarillo, it's kind of the small big city. There's a lot of great things to do here, but it still just has that small hometown feel.
So, and we'll get into your education here in a second, but you went away, went to school, and you worked elsewhere, but you came back to San Angelo / Mertzen. What brought you back to your hometown?
Well, I had a kind of a life-changing experience where I needed to be home and be close to my family, and just was the right time to move back home and to be around close to my family again and just really reroute myself on where I wanted to do and what I wanted to do with my career and moving forward. So.
Now, you earned 2 business degrees from Texas Tech in different disciplines, with honors, I might add. You were a very good student. And now you are pursuing an MBA through Tech's Working Professionals program. Why did you want to continue your education?
Well, surprisingly enough, after I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I actually applied for my MBA, and I didn't get in. And it's always been a dream of mine to go back to school, and I felt at the time that the time wasn't right. But it's something I've always wanted to pursue, and I've always dreamt of earning an MBA. And over the last several years, I've been getting information in the mail, mailers, brochures, advertisements to go back to school. And I thought, I'm still not ready. I don't know if this is the right time. And last year, I got another brochure, and I thought, what the heck? I'm going to apply and see what happens. And I did, and I got in. And I was super excited, and I'm almost a year in. I never would have expected the challenge. I mean, it's great. It's a great learning experience, but I can definitely say, looking back, that I don't think I would have been able to handle the workload. Just the maturity at the time when I applied after I graduated with my bachelor's, the experiences that I've learned in my jobs now have really prepared me for this degree. So the timing was just perfect to go back.
So having some years of working experience, do you feel like that makes you a better student in that you're able to take your real world application and apply it to the theoretical that you're learning in a classroom?
Absolutely. I can definitely say without a doubt, just the experiences that I've had and the different professions that I've worked in have certainly prepared me for the coursework. And like I said, if I was going back again at 21 years old, fresh out of college as an undergrad, I don't think I would have had the maturity or the experience to be able to really give this degree, this MBA, the justice that it deserves.
At the same time, it's got to be a challenge to work full-time and go to school practically full-time. How do you manage that?
Oh, I am very OCD, very structured. When I get my coursework, I backdate everything. I set a schedule, and like we spoke earlier, I want everything done early and in time, and so I really sit down and structure myself with my priorities as far as school and work is concerned.
So talk about this Working Professionals program at Tech. What does it do in order to cater to someone like yourself who's still working full-time?
So essentially what it does is you go to Lubbock and attend courses once a month. So you go on Saturday and Sundays for 6 hours, and again, a lot of the coursework is catered to a working professional. They understand that you have a full-time job, potentially a family and kids. So with that said, the coursework is really flexible. A lot of the assignments are done online or with groups, but again, it's very flexible to accommodate to someone that does have a full-time job.
Now, your professional career has involved a lot of different things. You have worked in transportation logistics, nonprofits, advertising and sales, and now economic development. You work for the city's economic development department. To what do you attribute this varied path that you've been on?
Well, You know, one of the reasons that I went into the business field was because there was so much versatility. So I always knew at the end of the day that I would have a job doing something. And originally when I graduated, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I saw this job posting for logistics broker essentially. And I applied for it. And it was a great first job. It was with one of the largest brokers in the world. Met a lot of great people that I'm still friends with today. And then I kind of got tired of it. I wanted to try something else. So I went into the nonprofit field working for the Boy Scouts. And again, a very fun job, very fulfilling, very rewarding. But again, just wanted to switch things up. So I moved back home and went into advertising and sales, and then now currently working for the city, which again, what I do for the city kind of encompasses a lot of those previous job skills with the transportation, with the sales, with the advertising. And so it's really shaped me to be where I'm at today in the position that I'm at.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask is, how do you think working in so many different fields has benefited you just as a person, but also your career at the same time?
Well, again, I think it's very important as you continue to move up the ladder or pursue different career interests to have a level of experience. A lot of different fields, a lot of different aspects. You know, the world today is a lot different than when our parents were younger, grandparents. They basically picked a position and worked there for 40 years. And now the versatility is so important. People want to see those different dimensions when they see an employee.
Your prior jobs required lots of travel as well. What did you like about that?
I think just the flexibility. You know, I'm just not an office person. And while the first job that I had, I was kind of stuck to my desk, so to speak, for the entire day, I enjoyed the flexibility in sales to be able to get up and travel and do something different every day.
Talk about what you do in the city's economic development department. Why do you find that work meaningful?
So I do a lot of different things. Probably my biggest role is helping administer our TIERS program, which stands for Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone. And essentially that's for businesses that are looking to beautify their property, make improvements. I also help assist with our business retention and expansion program. And that is for businesses that are looking to grow, hire additional employees, make a significant capital investment. There are certain incentives that we can help them with if they're looking to make those additional hires or capital investment. I also help with marketing collateral, duties like that, some advertising a little bit for Costa DC, as well as I help with the agendas for our board meetings, presentations, and things like that.
What do you like about the work?
Again, just being from West Texas, being from this area, it's very gratifying to help these businesses that want to grow. And it's exciting to meet these folks because they have such a passion for their business. And I get to be a part of that, which is super exciting. And to see these folks that have a vision and a plan when they want to beautify their property is just so, to see it at a basic level, and then after the improvements are done, is just such a very gratifying thing.
Is there maybe a success story you can share with us, either of a company that got some money in order to beautify its property in the tier zone, or maybe a business that you've worked with that has grown as a result of its involvement in the business retention and expansion program?
I would say probably the most gratifying thing for me is, from a tiers perspective, is driving down Chadburn and that essentially block where the church used to own. And there's about 7 to 10 buildings there, which used to be boarded up and just plain Jane paint, and they have essentially gone in and revitalized almost every single property, every building on that strip. And it's just so cool to see the different businesses. There's a gym, a bakery, a law office, a winery. It's just, the diversification is so cool to see.
And talk about why that's important and the ripple effect that can actually have on a community when you see revitalization efforts like that.
Well, again, I think times have changed. You know, back when I was younger, people liked to go to the mall, and that was kind of the center focus of a teenager or maybe a college-age student. And now people are really focusing on their downtowns, and just the revitalization effort, it brings folks down. They want to shop, they want to eat, they want to try different things. It's more about an experience. So to have those different elements in downtown, you draw a really different crowd and folks that can really enjoy the full aspect of what has been revitalized downtown.
And so now there's a synergy, like you mentioned, where people want to be downtown, whether they're a business owner or a customer.
Right, right. And it's just so much excitement. You know, you and I are fortunate that we get to work downtown and we get to see kind of the transformation that's happened in the last several years. So it's very exciting. You
mentioned about the Coast of DC, and I wanted to explain to our viewers that stands for the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. They're the folks who administer our half-cent sales tax for economic development. What do you like about working with that board? Because this is a pretty high-profile board.
It is, and so far we have had fantastic board members. They are very well educated, well experienced. They have great input, great questions, and they really are the folks that make the decisions on what we do with our half-cent sales tax funds. And it's just been very impressive, the decisions that they've made and the things that they have done for our city.
You mentioned earlier that you once worked for the Boy Scouts of America, and today you volunteer with them, which may be a little unusual for a young woman. What do you appreciate about Scouts and about Scouting?
Well, it was, again, kind of a career change path that I had. And I really didn't know what to expect going into it. And when I got hired, they hired me as a venturing executive. And essentially what that is someone that works with girls and boys 14 to 20 years old. So they do a lot of high adventure sports like hiking and climbing, but there's also an exploring aspect. So they're able to meet with businesses in the community that are willing to host an explorer post, essentially. So maybe a police department or a hospital for kids that want to be doctors or policemen. So I kind of related to that because I was younger and I was, working with the girls and the boys. So I didn't get to work with the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts, but it was more relatable that I could help the young men and women essentially maybe start a career path or continue high adventure activities that they enjoyed.
So it sounds like Boy Scouting maybe scouting is not our grandfather scouting anymore, that there's a more variety of programming involved with the Scouts these days.
It is. There has been a lot of change since I first started, and this was probably back in 2010. So a lot of dynamics have shifted, and there is the inclusion of girls now, even at the Cub Scout level. So a lot of shifts that are happening within that organization.
So you serve on the board of the Boy Scouts now?
I do. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the girls now being allowed into Boy Scouting?
Well,
I guess now it's just called Scouting.
That's right. Well, me growing up personally, again in Mertzen, I was kind of a tomboy. I had an older brother, and so I enjoyed doing the fishing and kind of the tomboy activities with my older brother. So I think it's a good thing, and the focus is more on family. They want to incorporate the little girls in with their brothers to do family activities with the parents, which I think is a great idea. So while venturing and exploring essentially took the 14 to 20-year-old young men and women, they're starting at the younger level with the girls. But I think the familial aspect of it is a great idea and something that's worth continuing to pursue.
Do you think there's some value and it sort of sends an implicit message that anything boys can do, girls can do?
I don't know. Again, I've always, as a young kid, I wanted to keep up with my older brother and do all the things he could do. So I guess it just depends.
So on the other end of the spectrum, you also volunteer with Meals for the Elderly. What do you enjoy about that?
It's absolutely the most humbling thing I've ever done. And just getting to see the smiles on those folks' faces, and that could potentially be the only human interaction that they have all day long. And you almost feel a sense of guilt because you want to sit down with them and spend time with them. But it's just one of the most gratifying things I've ever done.
I've talked to a lot of Meals for the Elderly volunteers, and it seems like that human interaction is as important, maybe more so than the actual meal that's being delivered.
It is. It's just a sense of, it's almost indescribable, just being able to see those folks' faces, and they're just always in great spirits, no matter what the health situation is or a personal situation, and they're just so thankful and grateful, and that just brightens your day.
So just by spending a few moments each week with those folks, do you develop relationships with them, you
You
feel?
do, yeah. They begin to ask questions, and you begin to ask questions, and you know, they invite you into their home and you see pictures of their family and their interests, and of course it's hard not to start a conversation, so absolutely.
So the person who nominated you, Shannon, said that you are the, quote, full package of leadership, and she cited your intelligence, creativity, reliability, integrity, and passion. What do you think are the ingredients for leadership?
Oh, I would absolutely say every single one of those and many more. Ironically enough, when I started my journey to get my MBA back in January, the first class I took was a leadership and ethics class. And the main component of it was really for a person to sit down and understand where their core values came from that helped establish themselves on a leadership path or as a leader today. So I really had to do some soul searching, and I think all of those qualities, just integrity, absolutely number one. You know, they define that as doing the right thing when nobody's looking. Reliability, trustworthy, honest, good communicator, a good motivator. There's so many things that I think a great leader should entail. And at some point during your journey, you begin to become a mentor. And I think that's kind of when you've reached your peak as a leader. You entail all those qualities, but you use those for the betterment of others and becoming a mentor.
So how do you define leadership?
Again, I think it's having the integrity, being well respected, having people look up to you, encouraging people, motivating people, having that honesty, that trustworthiness, being approachable. So there's several different facets of being a good leader.
So is there someone in your life that you look up to who you feel like inspired and helped shape you and your leadership?
Oh, absolutely. Probably the number one would be my mother. So from day one, she has always been my brother and I's number one supporter. She is very honest, which is where the honesty aspect comes into that, but she leads by example. What she says, she does, which I think is another big component of being a leader, is doing what you say you're going to do. My grandmother as well, she's always been a supporter of mine, whether it's athletically or academically, and since I was a kid, she has always given back to our community. She still continues to do so. She's almost 80 years old. She sits on several boards in Merton and volunteers her time, and it's just such a great role model to look up to.
Now, when you said that your mother is, and I think you went like this, very honest, it sounded like that she tells you what you need to hear as opposed to what you want to hear.
Absolutely. And, you know, you go through that weird teenage stage as a daughter and a mother, and mom was always there, but she told you like you needed to hear it. But as I get older, it's more of a, how do I explain it? More of an encouraging conversation, more of a motivational, okay, this is what you're gonna do, I'm gonna support it. So instead of telling you like you need to hear it, she kind of understands, but gives you the courage and motivation to continue what you wanna do. But I've been very blessed, as far as professionally, I have my mother's sister, my aunt, was the first woman in our family to really pursue a business career. And she's been very successful at that, and just always someone that I've looked up to as a mentor, but very humble. She's achieved a lot of success, but you can count on her, you can call on her for anything, and she will be there in a heartbeat. So I've been very fortunate to have these wonderful women that are still with us today that I can pick up the phone and call for anything. So they've definitely influenced the core values of where I stand today and what's influenced me on my leadership journey.
So Shannon, it's a huge honor to be one of this year's 20 Under 40. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Put it right there.